All right, guys. So I'm a little bit late on this. I apologize, but we got some good news for Arknights Infield. We are going to get a free 6-star standard selector. So all the 6-star standard characters we see in Arknights Infield, we are going to pretty much have the opportunity to pick whichever one we want. Ardelia, Pog, Lastrite, Ember, Lee Fong, you name it. So I read this entire thing. All right, we're not gonna read through all of this because I already read it myself. But pretty much like on February 5th, there's gonna be a lot of changes, right? Good changes. One of my biggest complaints is that when you guys know, whenever you're like crafting gear, like you're trying to craft something in an open world in Arknights Infield, the only way you can craft it is if you're in the AIC factory. That was one of my biggest problems. That shit is fucking annoying. And they addressed that. They said that in this update, we'll be able to it says right over here, allowing AIC facility construction outside the core AIC area. Very, very solid. So pretty much some optimizations, quality of life, really, really good. I'm shocked the fact that they didn't go over the whole PayPal situation in this dev note because before I read this, I thought that they were gonna talk about the PayPal situation, and this is the reason why they gave us the free 6-star pool, but not 6-star pool, but free 6-star selector. But it seems like that's not the case. Maybe they just don't want to address it. I don't know. Like, I don't understand why they don't want to talk about it at all. They already talked about it on their Twitter, but why didn't they include it in here? Because that was one of the main issues for Arknights Infield global launch. But yeah, man, this is solid. I don't understand why though they didn't talk about more in-game content, because when we take a look at the in-game content for Arknights Infield, we only have like this mode where you're doing the same thing over and over again, fighting the same enemies, just finding keys and whatever. You guys know which game mode I'm talking about. But yeah, they didn't talk about new in-game content. Maybe we're gonna add new in-game content in version 1.1. I don't fucking know. But yeah, based off of what I read here, this is solid, right? This is solid. Um, makes me, a lot more excited for the game because they're actually making these changes, which is really good. A free 6-star selector, very, very nice. Now let's go ahead and talk about which character you should pick when it comes to the 6-star selector. I'm gonna say this right off the bat. If you're picking Ardelia for the 6-star selector, you are a fucking idiot. Okay, you are an idiot because we get Ardelia for free in the login event global launch, so there is no reason for you to get a dupe on Ardelia. My apologies. Let me go ahead and mute that right there. But when we take a look at her first copy, so for P1, it says Battle Skill Dolly Rush, improve consuming corrosion, now applies physical susceptibility and art susceptibility with effects plus 8%. Now, of course, this is like a damage increase for your allies, but like it's not worth it because it's better for you to get another character who's going to do a lot more, right? And a perfect example is, for example, Pog, right? If you're trying to invest in a physical team, which you should be doing right now because physical team is pretty much busted. Like, if you guys were to ask me what is the strongest elemental reaction in Arknights Infield, it's physical. Physical is it's insanely busted right now. So getting units like Pog or Lee Fong, very, very good because these two units paired up with MC, nigga, you're cooking, bro. You're literally cooking. Ember, Ember's not really worth it. She's honestly just a tank unit that's gonna provide shields to your allies, and that's pretty much it. And there's really no reason for you to go for Ember. So Ember, I feel like she's a bad pick. These two characters are a bad pick. Lastrite, the thing about Lastrite is she is the best DPS, a 6-star standard DPS, but she is heavily reliant on cryo infliction stacks. If you can't inflict 3 cryo infliction stacks on the enemy, then like she's pretty dog shit, right? And the reason why I say that is because in order for you to trigger her combo skill, it says right over here, when an enemy has 3 or more cryo infliction stacks, you will trigger her combo skill. And it's important for you to trigger her combo skill because her combo skill deals a lot of damage. Plus, it pretty much adds more energy for her ultimate. And her ultimate, she can also do a lot of damage with her ultimate. Well, so you really want to land a lot of cryo infliction stacks on the enemy Of course, when you pair up with characters like Jehi can also inflict crown infliction on the enemy. She can inflict stacks on the enemy. It's not consistent, right? Because it says over here, quickly charges up the auxiliary crystal and launches it at the enemy to deal crowd damage and crowd infliction. When the auxiliary crystal uses up its HP treatments, that's the trigger. So it's not like she's constantly, triggering her combo skill. It happens like every 7 seconds. So it's like when it comes to last strike, my only issue with last strike is the crowd infliction stacks, right? It's just you're really just spamming basic attack, basic attack, basic attack, and then skill, and then you're doing the same shit over and over again. I don't know, man. It's like her gameplay is just not that fun to me. So last strike, if you want to go for her, sure, go ahead. You can try out Ice Team, but I would honestly prefer Pog or Li Fong instead. Flight Pog and Li Fong are a better pick because physical team is insanely powerful right now. I don't understand why Pride win, right? Like you guys can see Pride win before they put physical team in like T1. But hey, I'm gonna be real with y'all, man. Physical team is probably at tier 0. I feel like physical team is just way better than last strike. I might be tripping, but that's just me. Because physical team is doing way better than my last strike team. Like, I'm talking like fucking 30,000 damage. Last strike, she dealing like fucking 6k damage. I'm probably playing her wrong. I don't know, but physical team is just way fucking better, man. So the character that I'm going to pick for my 6-star selector, I'm going to pick Pog. Okay, I'm going to pick Pog, and I'm going to remove my Ember because Ember, she's only there to stagger the enemy more, but that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Pog, remove her, and my physical team is pretty much complete. All right, so yeah, that is pretty much the plan. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about the dev note. How do you feel about it? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is bad? Do you think the devs are being lazy? Let me know. I feel like the devs, they're definitely listening. They're definitely making some changes. But of course, they're gonna have to do this, long term. This can't just be like a global launch thing where they listen at global launch and then after that, it's just complete silence. Whenever we have complaints, respond. All right, respond to our complaints, respond to our feedback, and we can move on from there. But hope you guys have a good one. I'll be catch you guys on the next one. Adios.